In this tutorial in Microsoft Excel, we'd like to show you how to limit the values someone can put in a cell so that you get good information rather than garbage information. For example, on the sheet you see here, we're asking someone to type in the month of their birth. I can click on that cell and I can type in dog and it will take it. Or I can go ahead and type in 578 and it will take it. But of course those are not valid pieces of information for a birth month. I'm going to delete the cell. What can we do to control what's allowed in this particular cell? Well, there's a feature of Excel people often overlook called data validation. It gives you some simple control over what's allowed into a cell or range of cells. So let's introduce you to that. To get there, we go to the Data tab above the ribbon at the top and click with the left mouse button. And with that selected, we're going to move to Data Validation in the Data Tools area. I'll click on that. That brings a pop-up menu with three particular tabs. The first tab is what do we allow in the cell. The second tab deals with an input message when you click on the cell. And the third, an error alert, what happens if you don't obey the requirements in the cell. Let's look at the Settings tab first. The default is to allow any value. And so we're going to say we don't want any value. I will click down here. I will click on whole number. And then it gives me some options of the range of numbers. For now, I'm just going to leave it at whole number and click on OK. Now it says I must enter a minimum and maximum if I choose whole number. It also defaults to ignore blank. So now I'm going to put a minimum number in. Let's say the minimum is 1. The maximum for the months will be 12. And then I can click on OK. Now all I've done with that first tab is controlled the information in the input. So I'll click here and I'll type dog in and it just say I get a generic message, it doesn't meet the criteria. I can retry or cancel. Now let's try another one. Let's try 548 and enter. I get the same message. I can retry or hit cancel. So that's what it does. It gives me a generic message, but it says I won't accept this information. Clicking on the data validation again, let's make this a little more helpful. I want to go to my input message. Now this input message will show when the cell is selected if this box is checked. And so the message could have a title and a message. I could say, for example, welcome, and I could say type the month of your birth 1 to 12, and I will click on OK. Now whenever I move the cursor into the cell, I have this extra message. In many cases this seems redundant because the spreadsheet, the worksheet should give you that information, so oftentimes we won't go to this degree. So I'm going to go ahead, go back into data validation, and I will clear this information on this tab. You notice it also cleared everything in the entire data validation. So I'm going to go back here, go back to whole number, and we'll use the range between 1 and 12. Okay, now we won't have an input message this time. What we're going to do is do an error alert. And there are several options. You can do stop, warning, or information. If you leave it to warning or information, that will not prevent error messages or errors from being introduced into the cell. It will warn me, but it won't stop me. And same way with information. Let's try that. Let's do a warning and say you should use 1 to 12. And I'll click on OK. And I click here and I type dog. and it says I should do 1 to 12. Continue, I'll say yes, and it accepted dog. So it wasn't really forceful in doing that. I'll delete the cell contents again. Now I'll type another one. I'll do 126, enter. It said I should use 1 to 12, continue. I can do yes or no, and I will say yes, and it accepted it. So it let me overwrite the restrictions in the cell if that was the message I used. So most people, if they want to really enforce data validation on the error, it won't be a warning, it will be a stop. So if you use the stop command, it's you can make it, you should use 1 to 12. And you can make the message as friendly or unfriendly as you want. I'll leave it at that. Okay, we'll delete the contents of the cell. We'll try again. Now we'll type in dog, and I get, okay, retry or cancel. I'll cancel, and it won't accept it. I'll try a high number. Hit enter. I get the same message. I can retry. Now I can type in 11, and it accepts it. So this is a very simple way to begin to control your cells so that you don't accept invalid information. There's more we can do, and we'll have other lessons on this, but we hope this helps you understand a great way to protect the integrity of your spreadsheets in Microsoft Excel.